Welcome back to Satisfactory Update 8. Our mega factory is definitely taking shape. And as you can see over here, this was the bauxite and some of the other resources needed to make aluminium, but now we're bringing a lot of new things. Basically all of the basic materials, copper ingots, iron ingots, steel ingots, also the quartz crystal, limestone, quick wires, right? There's a bit of everything here now. This is thanks to a couple of new factories, over here. We have now, if you look at this, right, this is our highway. And next to the highway, we have multiple factories, right? We have a plastic, a rubber, all of those factories are over here. But now, more interestingly, I want to show you what we can do with all of this. So we're gonna bring all of the resources all the way over here, right? And they're all going to go down. It's giant elevators. If you don't know how to do this, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below. But yeah, we've done that many times in the past. But what we're doing now is definitely new, because these resources, when they go down, actually we're going to send them back up over here to start creating a bus. This is what you can see over here. This is a bus of resources. Each row, each height has a different resource. This is 750 of iron ingots. Again, copper ingots. Then we have the iron ingots. Then we're going to have the steel ingots. Then we have the plastic, the rubber. Some of them are empty because I'm planning for the future, when we need more. Then we have the quartz crystal, we have the aluminum alkyd sheet, the aluminum casing, and as I said, there's also a couple of others that I haven't brought down yet, but we will do soon, like limestone and quick wire. So with this, I have all of the resources in one place. So then on, the side, we can start building mini factories. What you could do is even rebuild every single item in the game. I could take some of these copper ingot, start making some copper sheet, start making some wires, start making some cables, and then send them back up over here so that later on we can use the copper, but we can also use those resources directly. Or what we can do is use those base, what I call base material, right? Those ingots and a couple of other things like plastic and quartz crystal to make then a mini factory. This is what you can see over here. This is my mini factory making radio control units. So with this one over here, we're basically, as I said, taking a couple of those base materials. You can see them over here, right? It is 5 different basic things, from aluminum casing, quartz crystal, the plastic, the iron, and the copper. And it is making radio control units, right? They're coming from all the way over here. And now we can put those radio control units on the bus. And so then next tomorrow, I can take some of these resources plus those radio control units to do something new. For example, if you do supercomputers or something like this. So that is definitely basically the goal over here. We're gonna have a couple of mini factories to make all of the next materials that we need. So a bus like this can definitely be super powerful because you can really do a lot of the resources in one place. You can do that, by the way, from the start. You don't really have to wait until the end game if you want. There is a couple of challenges with it. The main one, to be honest, is actually performance. Frame rates and those type of things are going to drop. Not sure how the recording is gonna be, but yeah, apart from this, it's full of benefits. There's not a lot of no benefit with this. The other obviously is we had to build the infrastructure of the train, right, to bring everything here. But apart from this, again, there's not a lot of other negative aspect to it. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, remark about it. I'd love to hear if you have done this in the past. But without further ado, let's move to radio control units. So how do we make this? Basically, we're gonna take aluminum casing, crystal oscillators, and computers. So we're already bringing the aluminum casing from the mega factory. So now we need to make those two things. To make crystal oscillators, you can see it over here. It's a couple of quartz crystal. Great, we're bringing this. Couple of cables, not that hard to make, right? It's copper ingots you transform into wires and then you transform into cables. And then reinforced iron plates. Well, this one's slightly harder, right? You're gonna need over here to make some iron plates from the iron ingots, and you're gonna need to make some screws, which is iron ingots into, I mean, there's a couple of recipes, but the basic one is iron ingots into the iron rods and then into screws. So that is for the crystal oscillators, and then for computers, again, a couple more cables, then some plastic that we are bringing, some screws again, and a couple of circuit boards. I say a couple is actually quite a lot, it's 25, and each of the assembler is only making 7.5, so we're gonna need quite a few. And this one is made out of plastic that we're already bringing, right? And copper sheet, which is just out of copper ingots. So you can see this is a bit what I'm planning, right? I know that to make all of this, I'm gonna need these types of materials, right? And therefore, this is basically why we have built those things, right? We have built out of raw quartz, the raw quartz crystal. We have built a factory for some copper ingots for the cables and the copper sheets. We've built an iron factory for the reinforced iron plates and screws. And we have built a plastic, factory out of oil to make plastic. Then I go into the next step, right, of knowing exactly how many do I need. So in this case, I've tried to make 5 radio control units. So this is 2 manufacturers. The reason I did this is because this is basically one manufacturer of computers, right? You can see 2.5, 2.5. By the way, obviously you can calculate those things, right? In this case over here, for example, this is 25 divided by 7.5, right? As you saw before. So this is how we know that we need 3.3 circuit board assemblers, then 1.25 reinforced iron plate assemblers, etc. It also tells me, in total, how many do I need? For example, in plastic, I'm gonna need 145. We know that right now we're making 400, so that's fine. If for some reason, the calculation were coming back to 600 of plastic, then I will know that I need to increase my plastic production, maybe move from 400 to 800, or I will need to decrease, try to make less radio control units, for example, try to make only 1. But in this case, we're good. You can see that all of those numbers, we can do them, no problem with our current productions. So that's what I've done over here. It starts here, as I said, basically, we're on the bus. We're going to put a couple of those splitters, right? And start taking resources out of the bus to then create what I call a temporary mini bus, right? This is also a bus basically. And then we have the factory next to it. We start, for example, with the iron ingots, right? Iron ingots goes over here. We're gonna have 2 manufacturers, 2 constructors to make iron plates. That's what you see over here, right? Then those iron plates are gonna be merged and go all the way over here. Then the ingots continue here, where we're gonna have 4 of these to make iron rods, right? This is what you can see over here. 4 constructors for the iron rods. Then those iron rods are being merged on this side and go over here into 6 constructors for the screws. So I'm gonna make quite a bit of screws. This is what you can see on the outside there. But now that we have Mark 5s, that's really not a problem. And so then we can take those iron plates that you just saw, plus those screws, into those 2 assemblers to make reinforced iron plates, right? This is using all of the iron plates, but not all of the screws. So the screws, some of them will continue this side, and then go back into my temporary bus that you can see here. On the other hand, over here we have the reinforced iron plates that will continue this side. In the meantime, we're gonna make something out of copper. So this is over here, 4 of these constructors to make wires, right? Quite a bit of wires is coming out on the outside over here. And then taking these wires, all of these wires, into 2 of these constructors, transforming them into cables. Hopefully you're still following, but don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below again if there's any questions. So then we're gonna take those cables and these reinforced iron plates that we just built, those 2 things, right, to go into 3 manufacturers here. Actually, to be precise, it is 2.5. That's going to take those reinforced iron plates, cable, and also quartz crystal to make the crystal oscillators. So we see also the crystal oscillators coming down, right, into this. So it's easy, there's one at level 0, level 3, and level 4. And then on the outside, obviously, we have all of those crystal oscillators, right, which will go then on the mega bus. And so then it will join the bus with also the screws and also a couple more of those cables, right? So every sort of surplus will go on this minibus. Then we also continue with a bit more of the copper ingots, actually the last time we're gonna use it, into, what is it, 5 of these constructors to make copper sheets. It's actually exactly 50 that we need. And then those 50 will go all the way over here, as you can see, in the middle of 4 assemblers with also the plastic. We're starting to use some plastic to make circuit boards, right? Copper sheet plus plastic, that's circuit boards. It goes on the outside over here, right? You can see on the outside, we're using all of these circuit boards, merging them. And so then we have our next manufacturer. It's only one. This is to make our computers, right? Out of those circuit boards we just made, the last cables, the last screws, and the last plastic, we're making 2.5 computers. And those computers obviously come out on this side, and then they go again on the temporary bus with what's left. There's not much left, as you can see. Now we only have the computers, the crystal oscillators, and the aluminum casing that we brought from the start into 2 of those manufacturers to make radio control units. One is making 2.5, so with 2 we make 5, right? With those 3 elements. So on the outside, they're going to start being merged. So here it is, we have basically fully automated radio control units, one of the first late game item. So we can check that goal, but more importantly, we can take quite a few of these and we're gonna go back to our main base. Now, by the way, if you really want to go into a mega factory like this, you may also want to move your main base to here, but we haven't done that yet. Now, the good thing is I do have an Hypertube network, right? So I can just take this to go back to the base, and I'll see you in a second when we arrive there. So here we are back at the base in our hub terminal. We're gonna want to do 2 milestones. The first one, aeronautical engineering. This is going to give us access to the drones and a couple of other things. And the second is advanced aluminum production. I know we just did aluminum production and now we're already moving to the advanced one, but don't worry, this is actually, in my opinion, has nothing to do with aluminum. I don't know why they called it this. This is more importantly going to unlock the resource well extractors and the pressurizer, which will give us access to nitrogen. This is a really important one because that's needed for all of those things over here. So let's go. For the first one, 300 motors, we have delivered this. 200 aluminum casing, that's easy. 100 alclad, that's easy. And now 50 of these resources radio control units. So we're delivering this before we launch. Let's also go to tier 8. Select this one and do the same. So 3000 wires, that's easy. 200 alclad, 100 casing, and now 50 also of these radio control units. So I send them into the sky. We send the first one first, and then very quickly we can move directly to the second because we've already delivered the resources. So we can go done, and that's perfect. So let's go. So we can also tick those too, but more importantly, I want to show you what that means. Now, what do we have? In the transport tab, we now have access to the drone ports and drone. So the drone port is basically the equivalent of the truck station or the train station, and obviously the drone is the equivalent of your tractor or of your train. The big difference is basically you don't need anything between 2 drone ports. Right, the drone will just fly between one to the other. It is a small, storage. It's only 9 slots versus, a truck is 48 and a train is, 32 for each cars. And you can have, usually 3 cars for 1 locomotive. So this is a lot less. But as I said, the big thing is you're not going to need any roads or any train tracks in between. So that can be really good for very far away, posts, or also posts that are hard to access or hard to work in, for example, radioactive, areas. This will require, everything we've been building so far, in particular the radio control units. We're gonna need this for both the ports and also the drones. Funnily enough, the drone also requires a miner, as you can see. This will also require some electricity, but that's similar, to the train station or truck station, so I'm not surprised here. On the other hand, the resource well extractor and pressurizer, that's very different. It's basically a new type of miner. We're gonna be able to unlock, new reserves of water, new reserves of oil, and nitrogen. This is the first time we can do nitrogen, so that's gonna be an important one. We're definitely going to cover this in the next episode because, spoiler alert, we need this for most of our productions. And in particular, we're gonna use this in the blender. You can see this blender over here, right? If I look at the production, there is the battery that's needed for the drone, by the way, but more importantly, we have the cooling system and the fuse modular frame. Both of these will require some nitrogen gas. So we're gonna have to play with this. As I said, that's gonna be the focus of the next episode. So I hope you're ready for this. Smash like button. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests. And I hope to see you next time.